So KJ Jefferson and the Arkansas offense did not anticipate yesterday's game going how it went. However, it did, and so it's something that we still want to cover, at least talk about. We put out Arkansas quarterback videos. We preview the game, and then we do the recap. So even though it was a rough game, we still want to touch on it a little bit. And just real quick, I want to get out in front. We don't do a lot of we're not very critical in our analysis, right? We talk about improvement areas because everyone can improve, but we're not overly critical. And so, if you want more of a kind of a critical viewpoint of things, and maybe it's fair, this is probably not the channel or the video to watch. So, just want to get that out of the way. And today's video is going to be a little bit different. We're actually not going to do any film breakdown because I don't think it's very relevant to what we want to talk about. And I'll explain why here in a second. But before we keep going on to it and talk about the meat and potatoes of the actual video, which is KJ Jefferson and the Arkansas offense, I just want to encourage all to consider subscribing to the channel if you like any quarterback-related content. So let's dive into it. The big reason I'm not going to do a lot of film breakdown or any film breakdown in this specific video is because when you blinked, the score was 21-0, right? The score was 21-0 when you blinked. You blinked again, it was, 24 at halftime? You blinked again, it was 37-0. And so when it was 21-0, that forced Arkansas into a game plan they did not plan for or want to get into, right? Georgia was able to get Arkansas to a game plan that was not optimal for what they wanted to do, and Georgia could really kind of play a comfortable defense. Starting off, first series, we had, 2 false starts, drove him back to the goal line, right? And then it was the third and, 24th, third 20-something, right? So not a very good start whatsoever, right? So it was 7-0, Georgia scored. Kickoff to Arkansas, 2 false starts right back to back, penalties, which was killer, and then Arkansas punts, Georgia scores again, Arkansas punts from their own end zone again, Georgia blocks it, and like that is 21-0. And we talked about this in the preview video. The one thing Arkansas couldn't do was get down early, but we didn't anticipate it happening like this. And when we talked about the preview video, we talked about if Arkansas didn't take what the defense gave them, right? We talked about if KJ and the offense pushed the ball downfield too early, took 2 early shots, and had a turnover or 2 and got down early. So even though it didn't happen how we talked about how it shouldn't happen, right? Or that doesn't make sense. Even though it happened in a different way than what we talked about, it was still the one thing that couldn't happen, getting down early. And once that happened, Georgia could literally just like suffocate Arkansas. That's exactly what they did in offense. So it's 21-0. Arkansas gets the ball, and then they have their first decent drive. So let's imagine this. Imagine that decent drive. It ended in a missed field goal, right? But let's imagine that decent drive where Arkansas did some things they wanted to in offense, got the ball out quick, onto 1 or 2 good quick passes. KJ ran the ball well. There was a penalty, but KJ had another good run on 3rd and 6. So there were some good things they did in that drive. They missed the field goal. But imagine if that was the first drive, right? Like, I know you can't rewind the game, but just imagine it's 7-0. Arkansas doesn't have those penalties. Their first drive goes down the field. Some good plays here and there. Georgia buttons up and they kick a field goal. Much different game, right? And I'm not saying that would change the game because clearly Georgia's head and shoulders better than Arkansas right now. Georgia's, if not the best team, the top 2 best team in all of college football right now. However, it could have been a little bit different. I believe there are already 4 offensive penalties in the first 10 plays, right? So these are all the reasons why I'm not going to break down the video because it just really isn't relevant, and there's no need for us to kind of hark on what happened offensively because I don't think it's relevant moving forward, right? Besides the cleaning up the penalties and just fixing those issues, which Sam Pittman will of course do and is in the process of already doing that already, I'm sure. But yeah, I just wanted to imagine if that first decent drive they had, if that was the first drive, that those penalties, different ballgame, right? But it wasn't. It was not how the game worked out. Arkansas had to do something totally different, and Georgia was able to get pressure on downs that they need to get downs on, 3rd and longs, right? 2nd and longs, and it wasn't because they sent a bunch of people, like we talked about in the preview video. They were able to cause a lot of confusion on the defensive line, a lot of pre-snap movements, caused a lot of confusion, and they were able to get a lot of pressure, and they decided when to send more than 3 guys or 4 guys, right? And they did it so timely, and they were able to get pressure on KJ on a few of those drives. Again, didn't matter. But that's kind of some of the X's and O's of things, right? So I think, what was it, 24-0 at halftime? 24-27-0, 1 of the 2 at halftime. Forgive me, I can't remember which one it was. So second half comes around, offense gets the ball first, I think, or at least the first our offense gets the ball first. Their first offensive drive, false start. You even heard the broadcaster say it's like deja vu, right? So there were just so many penalties that just knocked Arkansas completely out of their game plan. And like we talked about, Georgia got pressure when needed. So Not a ton to break down offensively, besides the fact that penalties hurt them, and then that blocked field goal or blocked punt hurt them, and they couldn't do what they wanted to do or what they game planned for. They were behind early, and there was no coming back against that Georgia defense. Good thing behind it, the game's done. In college, we would have coaches tell us, and I don't know if Pittman is like this or not, but we would have coaches tell us, hey, this game film, we're just going to bury it. We're just going to bury the game film and move on. Maybe that's what they do. Maybe it's not. Maybe they learn from the game film. Regardless, they can forget the performance while still learning what they need to learn from the performance, right? You can forget the outcome while still taking away the things you need to take away to improve on. I still think Arkansas is a very good team. I still think they're probably a top 15-ish team in the nation, right? I just think Georgia's that much better than that next tier, if you will. So anyways, it's a big game coming up with Arkansas and Ole Miss. Ole Miss getting embarrassed as well against Alabama. That's what happens when you play the two top teams in the nation. If you're not right up there neck and neck, then it kind of shows. But I'm excited to see Arkansas bounce back. It's good to face some adversity. They have a hell of a coach leading them. I still love their quarterback, KJ Jefferson. Again, we're not going to be critical here as we dive into this breakdown. I still think they have a lot of positive things ahead of them, and they can still finish, I think, second in the SEC West if they just put their head down and learn from this and grow from it. But anyways, that's all we had today. I know it's shorter than usual. There's no game film breakdown than usual, so I apologize if you're looking for that. I just thought it was more relevant to talk about what we talked about than going and breaking down some worthless film and you're down 37-0 or 30-0, right? There's not a lot to take away from those situations when you're breaking down film. So anyways, we'll have an Ole Miss breakdown probably in the next 2 or 3 days, talking about what KJ needs to do, how they're going to bounce back. And I do think they'll bounce back. It's going to be exciting looking forward. And I'm blanking. Is the game away? Let me see. I'm sorry. I should be more prepared than this. I know Arkansas fans know this off the top of their head, and I do not. Okay, so the game is at Ole Miss, right? So the game you got Ole Miss coming up real quick. I know it's about to end. Let's read off the schedule real quick, because I still think Arkansas can do a lot of good things. They got Ole Miss coming up, and it's at Ole Miss. That's going to be a tough one. Right now, Ole Miss is a 5-point favorite. But like I said, I think if Arkansas can force, gosh, here I am breaking down the game, just like last year, right? Force Matt Corral to make bad throws. Get him bored, hitting those dink and dunks, and force him to push it downfield. Okay, that's all I'm saying. But Arkansas's defense can bow up against them, and then I think Arkansas offense can get going. Just don't put yourself in these bad situations. After that, you have Auburn at home. So I think it's important to get one of these two games. I think you can get both of them, but get one of these two games, right? They have Auburn at home after Ole Miss. Then you have Arkansas Pine Bluff, and then Mississippi State at home. So you got 3 straight games, home. I know it's an FCS school. Then you go to LSU, then you go to Bama, and then Mizzou comes. So still a good challenging schedule, right? But something that I can match up well. Okay, I'm sorry, I went on a tangent. Anyways, I want to hear from y'all, though. What do you think about KJ's performance? I don't even know if that's the right question to ask this. Just what do you feel about the performance and the offense in general? I think we're going to see a much better performance against Ole Miss, but let me know your thoughts below. Leave us a comment below, and we'll see you next time on our next quarterback-related video.